Oh, there's a troubling article today. This would be upon MSNBC. World Health Organization deeply concerned by the deadly flu research. And if you go down in here and read, which we're going to, I'm going to highlight all this stuff. You can see the picture here, carrying poultry. They're going to get rid of it and dispose of it in the Gandhigram village, 22 miles west of Agartala, the capital of India's northeastern state of Tripura. And that was in March, after they had the outbreak of H5N1. So the organization issued a stern warning on Friday, they claim, to scientists who have engineered a highly pathogenic form of the deadly H5N1 bird flu. And they're saying that what they've done carries big risks and has to be controlled. The negative consequences of the work by two leading research teams this month had found ways to take that H5N1 and make it into an easily transmissible form capable of causing lethal human pandemics. So they've actually taken what was already a serious virus and they have enhanced it to make it deadly, way more deadly. The work by the teams, one in the Netherlands and one in the good old United States of America, has already prompted a censorship call from U.S. security advisors. And they're afraid that if they publish the details of the work, well, bad guys could get to know how to make a bioterror weapon. The Science Advisory Board for Biosecurity asked the two journalists that want that want to publish the work to make redacted versions. And gee, the journal editors and many scientists object to that. So these idiots want to put in their journals how to enhance this so that bad guys can get the knowledge. They must be lost their mind if they had one to begin with. The WHO said, while it is clear that conducting research to gain such knowledge must continue, it must also clear the certain research, especially which can generate more dangerous forms of the virus, has risk. Extremely deadly in people who are directly exposed to it from birds. Since the virus was detected in 1997, 600 people have contracted it, more than half have died. That's a pretty, well, over 50%, that's a pretty high percentage. It is not naturally mutated into a form that can pass easily from person to person, although many scientists fear this kind of mutation is likely to happen at some point and will constitute a major health threat if it does. And then you have a poll, which is ignorant. Should the scientists create deadly viruses? What an idiotic poll. No. Okay. The U.S. National Institutes of Health funded two research teams to carry out research into how the virus could become more transmissible in humans, with the aim of gaining insight on how to react if the mutation occurred naturally. That's a nice excuse. The agency said it was vital that new rules on the sharing of viruses and scientific know-how were enforced to ensure those countries at most risk, mainly developing countries in Asia, such as Indonesia, Vietnam, and others, would benefit. Okay. Well, you get the idea. A new pandemic influenza preparedness framework was agreed and adopted by all WHO member states in May 2011 to set rules for sharing flu viruses that have pandemic potential. WHO considers it critically important that scientists who undertake research with influenza viruses with pandemic potential samples fully abide by the new requirements. Well, whether you can trust the World Health Organization remains to be seen, because remember the last little deal? They came out and mentioned pandemic, and then they came up with the shot, and they wanted everybody to get it, and there wasn't a whole ton of people that went out and got it. So, and then if you think along a different line, if you believe in the prophecy of Fatima, the Pope that passed away before the current Pope, Benedict the Heretic, if you remember, you can find little pieces of what maybe he said about it, or maybe he didn't say it, but there is writings out there to where he says, what good would it, something to the effect of, what good would it do to tell the world about something that will cause millions of people per hour to die? Now, if that's not a lie, then what would cause millions of people to die per hour? Extreme heat, extreme cold, water, flooding, drowning, nuclear bombs, something you breathe, and maybe a virus that you breathe and become infected with. But anyway, that's some food for thought. If the Pope really did say that at some point, well, maybe there might be something to this deadly flu research, enhancing viruses to make them lethal, more lethal than what they already are. Well, it's in the article admitting that they've done it. Our latest earthquakes, we have some things going. In the U.S., we have two 2.9s in Alaska, a 2.7 in Baja, California, Mexico, 3.2 in western Montana, 2.8, 3.1, Baja, California, Mexico, 4.3, Baja, California, Mexico, 2.9, Baja, California, Mexico, 3, southern Alaska, 2.6, Hawaii. You also see a 5 in the Kermadec region, 5.2, Japan region, South Sandwich Island region, 5.2, Guam, 4.6, 4.5 in the Rat Islands and Aleutian Islands, Alaska, 4.6 on the Pacific Antarctic Ridge. I believe they just had a 5.5 not long ago. You also have a 4.3, hello Turkey, Eastern Turkey, 4.8 Indonesia, 3 Central California, 4.4 Fiji, Puerto Rico 2.9, Japan region 4.4, Ecuador 4.6. Here's another Rat Islands, Aleutian Islands, Alaska, 4.7, 5.0 in Papua New Guinea, 5.5 Indonesia, 5.1 Central Peru. Let's go down to the 29th, Papua New Guinea 5.3, Vanuatu 5.3. There's the Kermadec 4.6, Peru 4.8, Guatemala 4.6. There's your 5.5 Pacific Antarctic Ridge, 4.6 southern Peru, western Texas 2.5, Baja California 2.8. Go back to the 28th and look. Sandwich Islands region 5.4, 5.4 in Indonesia, Chile 4.9, 5.2 Fiji. So other than Russia, and I believe it was Tonga 6.0 and Russia 6.6, we're not in the 6 level right now at the moment. we go over to space weather, and they tell you that the why would Fox News and the other stations that carried that, why would they be talking about a lower class M flare all of a sudden? You get higher ones and stuff like that, and it's never on television. So that kind of was freaky when I saw that on the television yesterday, after they'd already decreased the chance of it. The CME expected on the 29th to either miss the Earth or its impact was too weak to notice. Generally low, 20% chance of storms around the Arctic Circle in the next 24 hours. And then you have this one, 1389's crackling with an M, solar class, or M-class solar flares. And this is the recorded of the UV flash from the region at 2151 UT. You can click that and watch that if you want. Sunspot is not directly facing the Earth, as flares can affect our planet. X-rays and UV radiation created waves of ionization in the upper atmosphere, altering the propagation of radio waves. The new phenomenon was particularly strong over Europe, where radio amateurs using low-frequency receivers detected sudden ionospheric disturbances. AA forecasters estimate a 40% chance of more flares during the next 24 hours. There's also a 5% chance of X. There's a low chance of X, but there is a chance of X. And we'll hope against that. And then you can see a little cool picture from a few days ago, if you haven't already. These are the first polar stratospheric clouds of northern winter formed around the Arctic Circle. And this comes from Anders Korwad Hagen of Venstre, Norway. He was lucky enough to be able to capture that. Also known as nacreous, or mother of pearl clouds, the icy PSCs form in the lower stratosphere when temperatures drop to around -85 degrees Celsius. Sunlight shining through tiny ice particles produce characteristic bright indecent colors by diffraction and interference. The display he witnessed formed in the wake of Dagmar, a storm that will hit the coast of Norway with hurricane strength on December 25th and 26th. Record-breaking winds up to 145 miles an hour were recorded. People on the coast dealt with the aftermath. Beautiful display, but not comfortable to think of all the suffering lying behind it. I agree on that. Over to the left, there's your little coronal hole picture. It's telling you Earth is entering a dense stream of solar wind flowing from the indicated coronal hole. And then there's your forecast, which we already know about. And I caught him chemtrailing. I had to go to the store before I went to work, and I didn't pay attention when I left the house. When I got out of the truck, I saw that he'd been busy, and he laid out a good long one. They had been there a while. You could see towards the end over there on the left, it looked like they had started to kind of dissipate. And then got that one there. This is after I got to work. I'm actually looking at and this would be about 4 miles away from where I was on the other one. So when I got to work, you could see the tail end of what was already kind of fading away. I'm just looking as far east as I can see. And then I pan back to the right. And then I'm going to get a shot of the sun here. And I'm intentionally pointing the camera at it. And you can see again, no dot, pointed right at it, no black dot. That's not contrail either. Some people might be thinking that, but it's not. This is a contrail. And this little booger, I caught him. That's probably the culprit. And you can see it looked pretty freaky because he's going to be flying back to the air base. He's going from east to west. And I just happened to see him. There's the moon there. And this would be about 10 till 4 in the afternoon. So you can see it looked kind of weird just to look up there and see his contrail flying past the moon at the exact time that I'm looking at him. But this is a contrail. This is not a chemtrail here because it's going away just practically as fast as he's flying. I think that was a bird there. I didn't see it when I was filming, but it looked like a bird, I believe. So, a lot of people getting sick. They haven't been dying, but where I'm at, there's some kind of nasty, congestive, whatever it is, that a bunch of people that I work around have, and they're having a hard time shaking it. Some of them are going into their 3rd week, and they're still not over it. They're better than they were before when they had to take off work and miss work. But they still, you can hear them talk and stuff, and you can still hear the congestion in their voice and the way they sound. So I would keep an eye on this and be aware that these scientists and researchers are taking already deadly viruses and they're making them even more deadly. And they use the excuse, we want to know how to react and defend in case it mutates. Well, that's possibly true 50%, that's possibly true 0% on the other side. Let's just hope that they don't unleash this. You wouldn't think researchers would. But aren't you basically doing that if you put the know-how into a journal? It can be gotten by bad guys. You know, bad guys have scientists too. And they may not be as smart as everyone else's scientists, but if you show them how to do things and give them the know-how and the understanding, then they become smart in ways that they weren't before. So I'd say we need to be deeply aware of that. And as far as the X-class flare goes, we only got a 5%. So, you know, take that for what it is. It's probably not a big worry about getting an X. I'm not saying it won't, but we'll see how the M's come out. And I'd like to say, I like that video you made, T-Bar. You saved me some time having to go backwards to find a big round reflection of Venus or the Earth or something like that. I had made it through 2010. I was getting ready to go to 29, and I noticed you had that video up, and then you put me on to 2007, and that saved me some work. So everybody just remember, when you're looking at photos from like if you're on Sechi and you're on HI1B, you can't see the same things off of B as you can on an A. So your angular is not the same. You're looking at a totally different direction. So what you're going to see Jupiter on one, you're going to see Venus on the other. Everything's going, everything's moving, everything has an orbit. It is Friday, and I'm glad. And I want to wish everybody a safe and happy New Year. If you're going to do a little New Year's reveling, and you're going to drink, try to have a way home, or just don't go anywhere and do it in your own home. As far as where I'm at, they're going to have a whole lot of checkpoints, as much as I'm sure that they probably will all across America. And on another thing, did anybody see that those two little part 1, part 2 videos by that young man that passed away with the bad heart, to where he told his story on the cue cards? That really, I don't know how to explain that, but when I watched that young man in those 2 parts, his video touched me. And if you get a chance and you haven't seen it, you can write me and ask me for it, and I'll send it to you. I have that. Or you can type into your browser, you know, young man tells story on cue cards, and that might probably bring it up. It was a couple of days ago on MSN front page. Seemed like a nice young man. He's happy now, and he's got a good heart now. So I will talk to you all tomorrow. I'm going to go look around and do some stuff about Grail and Vesta when I come home tonight from work. So I'll try to have something up depending upon what I find. God bless everybody. It's real clear here, so when the nightfall comes, I'll be looking up. I haven't seen any weird things moving around here in a few months like I did before, where I actually saw some things. But it's so clear, there's not much you can't see right now. So God bless everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.